Good morning, good morning. I am super excited to be with you this morning for our Thursday career chat. And today our topic is going to be CVs. I am super excited to talk about this because I'm really passionate about students looking into graduate programs and applying to graduate schools to further your education. And so even in my own journey, I had a lot of mentors and help from my career center to help me with that. And so today we're going to talk about the importance of a CV, what sections of it that we want you to highlight and pay attention to so that you have an understanding of that, and then why those sections are so important. So what's great is that at the end of today's session, there will be a link available that has a packet that will highlight all of the things that we talk about today. I'll also have some examples for you to look over if you need a sort of a template to start the process. And then my information will be available so that if you have any questions or concerns, or you want help starting or completing your CV, you can simply email me over the summer and I'll be happy to help with that. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at a small presentation that I put together that will just give you a deeper understanding of a CV. I know a lot of students get a lot of mixed information and they get kind of confused about the difference between a resume and a CV. And so today we're going to look at all of those myths and debunk that, and then give you some information to help you create your own. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with the presentation so that we can go over all of that information. All right. So the question I always get when I talk to students in the College of Liberal Arts is this kind of confusion of, hey, what is the difference between a resume and a CV? So the biggest thing I can say here is a resume is just a brief information document that you have that, of course, highlights your education, your abilities, and your work experience. And so typically coming out of your undergraduate journey, you're gonna have about a 1 to 2 page resume. Well, the difference is when you're looking at a CV, it's an overall view of your academic accomplishments. And what it does is it allows you to include research, publications, research that you've done, any kind of references that you have. And it's really a way for you to show your accomplishments in an extensive way. So it's going to be very detailed. It's going to be very complete. Typically, I've seen CVs start from an average of 2 pages, and sometimes they can go all the way up to 20 pages. So what's nice is that you don't have to hold back. I tell students that if you've been at Auburn for 4 years and you've done an array of different activities and you have a lot of accomplishments, the CV gives you an opportunity to really showcase all of that, to summarize it in detail so that when graduate committees look at it, they can see a full picture of who you are, not only looking at your work accomplishments, but your academic accomplishments as well. So to give you a little bit more detail, again, look at your CV as your academic resume. So typically when we look at regular resumes, we're just looking at all of your experiences from a work standpoint. But the CV allows you to look at yourself in a scholarly way where you're highlighting all of your academics. Again, it is really the full course of your academic life that you've had at all institutions. And so again, you're going to be able to outline for a graduate committee why you're a good fit by highlighting all of those different areas. So make sure that you come in with the understanding that anything that you've done, either from a research lab, again, if you went on a presentation tour with a specific student org and you got to present, all of that is welcome to be included in your CV. So a great way to also keep a remembrance of that is to think of it like the running commentary of your life. What's great is that your CV is going to be something that you're going to build upon, even as you continue to go forward in your graduate program, if you have other accomplishments, it's going to build up over time. And so we want to make sure that all of that is highlighted. So for a typical CV, I will go over what most of those sections are. So we'll start with education. We'll move on to honors and awards, teaching experience, research experience, grants awarded, conference presentations, publications, research interests, and references. So you can see typically all of this information is not found on a regular resume. And so again, you'll be able to highlight all of these great accomplishments. So first, let's start with education. It's simple. Typically, you're going to see that CVs start with the graduate committee that you're going to be, in front of or applying to. Of course, they're going to want to know what your major is, what type of degree you've got, and then what date that degree was awarded. You'll want to include all of that information so they're aware of your expected graduation date and to highlight any minor and majors that you have. Moving forward, you will want to highlight all of your honors and awards. So the CV will allow you to list each award individually with the institution that was accompanied with that. And so if you have a graduation honor that is GPA related, you can include that. And if you received any of the awards in the community or through a student organization, it would be really great to highlight that, specifically if it's highlighting your involvement in areas that are related to the work that you will be doing within your graduate program. Next, you'll see that they want to know if you've had any teaching experience. So if there were any courses that you were able to teach, you can go ahead and highlight those by listing the institution and the role that you played. So if you were a teacher's assistant, you can highlight that specific course and give a description of the material that you presented to that class as well. The biggest thing that I see with my area of students is this idea of having research experience, right? So with psychology and social work, a lot of graduate programs will want to see that you've had time in a laboratory experience or working under a specific faculty member, studying a specific area of interest, which is going to be a big indicator on your application. And so you can list any assistantships or research experience with the institution so that they can see what position you had, what duties you had, the dates of that research, and then your supervisor. Why this is great is because graduate committees want to see that you can work well with faculty members and that you have a clear understanding of a research topic that you have in mind. And so showing that you've already had experience doing that will, again, make you a better candidate to stand out. Next, we're going to look at statistical and computer experience. So this section is typically very relevant for students going into clinical PhD programs, specifically in psychology. Statistics and assessment is very big in that area. And so they want to see that you have experience taking specific research and statistical classes in addition to computer programming classes, because in some of those fields, they will want you to be familiar with a lot of programs. And so if you are familiar with analyzing data, that will be a great component to show that you are able to move forward and be ready for that. After that, you'll, of course, list your professional experience. So this should be very easy. If you've already created a standard resume, you can go ahead and take that information off your resume and include it in your professional experience. The difference is usually those bullet points that you'll see on your resume that gives this larger detail of the role won't be included. You'll just simply include the role, the area or organization that you work with, those dates, so that they can see a chronological progression of your work history. After that, they will have opportunity in sections for you to list any grants awarded. So what's nice is that there are some students that might work with an agency or a project where they were actually awarded funding for a certain topic or area of interest. And so that is a great accomplishment that you want to show. For instance, if you were working with a specific organization on campus and that organization with you being the lead helped fundraise and bring monies into that organization for a certain cause, you want to highlight that. If that was a grant that was awarded through the state or simply just through maybe a competition that you were involved in, you want to show, hey, this is the amount of dollars that I was awarded, and this is what these dollars were used for. So that is a great accomplishment, specifically on the academic side, that you can show that you have the ability to move forward and bring in money for a specific cause. So this next slide is going to look more on the academic end of things. And so we have this area on a CV called publications. So typically, a lot of undergraduate students may not have this opportunity. There may be some that do, but we'll just go over that just so that you're aware. So typically, if you are, for instance, a psychology student, there are regional conferences where you'll be able to show and share the research that you've completed throughout the academic year. And typically, there are conferences that allow you to present your information. And so you can include your conference presentations on your CV, highlighting what you were able to present on and what conference you were in. In the same sense, if you've been able to write for a publication that has been published, they definitely want to see that, because that's going to be a huge part of your work within a graduate program, specifically if it's within psychology. Now, I know for other areas that may not be the case, but if you've had the opportunity to work with a faculty member and you've gotten your work published, it is a great way for you to highlight that as well. And then we'll move on to professional activities. So again, that's going to be all of the experiences that you've had on Auburn's campuses. So if you were a part of a student organization, if you were a committee member, if you were working to deliver maybe a workshop or a specific program to highlight a cause, you want to put all of that on your CV as your professional activities. Specifically, if you've done work in the community, working with a certain nonprofit, we want the faculty at the schools that you're applying to really see all of the great work that you're doing in and outside the classroom. So don't hold back. Make sure that you're including all of that. And if you have any questions on the significance of if one activity should be added or not, you can, of course, make an appointment with your career specialist so that we can kind of talk through the importance of those activities, if it's related to the program that you're applying to, and how that can definitely make you stand out. So after that, we're going to look at professional affiliations. So for most majors, there are professional organizations outside of your school that you can join. For instance, if you are a psychology student, you may join the American Psychological Association. There are a ton of great organizations for every major out there. And so if you've already joined a professional society or organization where you have membership, you want to highlight that, because it really does show your commitment and interest to network and to connect and build relationships with other people that are passionate about the specific field of study that you're going in. So make sure that you highlight all of those organizations that you've joined on campus, and even the larger organizations outside of Auburn's community. You want to make sure that you list the dates as well, so that we can see how long you've been involved. And then again, if you hold any kind of position within those organizations, you want to make sure that you highlight that. Next, typically, for folks that are going into research-based graduate programs, again, not every program is going to have that, but most of the time they will like for you to summarize what your research interest is in. That's just great because, again, they want to make sure that your research interest aligns directly with the faculty that you'll be working under. And so it's best for you to have a clear or general, I should say, idea of what those areas of interest are so that you can clearly articulate that to the committee. If you, again, worked in a research lab or under a specific faculty member at Auburn and you want to highlight those same research interests to show the consistency of that area of passion that you have, that is great. You can always, again, talk to your career specialist if you have any questions, but just start thinking about what that would look like for you so that they're very clear of what those research interests are. After that, again, a lot of graduate programs will allow students to teach throughout their programs. And so if you have any teacher's interest, you know, in terms of courses that you'd be interested in teaching or even being, of course, an assistant within those courses, just make sure that you're highlighting, you know, what courses they are. Specifically, if you've maybe taken, you know, the beginner course or the intro course in your undergraduate career and you have a really passion for continuing in that, that would be great for you to also highlight what those teaching interests are. Last but not least, there is an area for you to have a reference section. And so you will be able to provide a name, a phone number, and an address of someone that can speak highly of you. Of course, you're going to want to make sure that you reach out to your references beforehand. And then also, when you're looking at the criteria for applying for this specific program, get to see if they are asking for references. Not every graduate program will ask for that on your CV. And so what's great is that you can contact the program coordinator to see if that's something that is required. And if it is, you can submit that information. So all in all, those are really just giving you a brief overview of sections that are welcomed on the CV. Again, you won't add every section. So one student might say, hey, Brittany, I haven't had anything published. Then you don't have to add that section. If you haven't gone to a professional conference and you can't add that, that's completely fine. What we want you to be sure of is that all these sections are open to be added to your CV, that they're core sections that, you know, can be highlighted, but you only want to add them only if and when you've had that experience. So don't feel any pressure to add anything that hasn't happened yet. Because this is an open document, you'll have your entire graduate career to go in and add to it and to lengthen it. Again, looking at the original understanding of what a CV means, it's really the courses of your life. It means an overview of your life. And so you'll have plenty of time to add, you know, to all of those sections. So don't feel overwhelmed by that. And again, I would always say that if you're struggling to figure out if something's a right fit or not, make an appointment with us and we can go over a draft that you have and then decide if you're going in the right direction so that we can either add or remove a certain section. So key takeaways that I want to add is that you want to make sure that you present your items chronologically, chronologically, I should say, so that everything is in order so that we can see a start and an end, right? So, you know, starting at your freshman year at Auburn, ending at your senior year before you're submitting your information to the committee, they should go through and be able to see the progression of all of your accomplishments. You always, of course, want to list the recent accomplishments first, and you want to make sure that it's always something that is highlighting an accomplishment that's making you stand out, even something that you're working in progress. Show that this is the initiative that you started, this is something you've completed, so that overall you are really putting a huge spotlight on all of the great academic and scholarly accomplishments that you have. And then just make sure that you update it frequently. It's always easier to do it in real time. So as you are, building upon all of those things, just go in, keep, a Word document, and as something starts or ends, you can just go in there and update it so that you're not overwhelmed at the end of your senior year trying to create one that may be a little bit harder if you're trying to do that on the moment. So you don't have to be or wait until you're a senior to start your CV. If you know that you're in a specific area, so much as the students in social work or psychology know that, hey, I'm probably going to go to grad school, you can start writing your CV as soon as your freshman or sophomore year. What's nice is a lot of you guys will have a L-bar course that you'll take. And so that will start to prepare you to get used to what writing a resume looks like, which will definitely prepare you. And then again, you can space out a lot of the items that you're going to put together so that you don't feel overwhelmed. So overall, just know that your CV is a full accomplishment of what you've done. It is not like a resume, because resumes usually have you stop just at your work experience. But this again allows you to definitely look at all of that. And so what we're going to do is we are going to look at a couple of examples. Okay, so what I have here is John Smith, and you'll see that in the same sense that your resume requires you to have your personal information, that your CV will allow the same thing. And so you'll see that you will list your first and last name. After that, you'll list your current address. Typically, the address is limited to city and state, so you don't have to put your personal address on there. And then you want to make sure that you have updated contact information, which usually involves your cell phone number and your email. And so what you'll see here is just the beginning of what we've talked about, where you'll have your education section and then your experience. So it's going to be relatively the same as you go throughout. So we see that John has listed his experience as an instructor and also a teaching assistant. He has his research skills involved so that he's showing that he has extensive knowledge. And then, of course, we see presentations and publications here. So it does show that he is the one presenting, the year that he presented, and then the actual name of his presentation. So again, on this particular CV, we see that the name of it is the behavior of learning disabled adolescents in the classroom. And then he highlights that this is a paper presentation that he happened to present at a conference at the University of Minnesota. And so all of that information is out there for committee members to see. They don't have to guess what the topic was in. They don't have to guess where John presented or the year. All of that is clearly defined and stated. In the same sense, under publications, you'll see that John also had the opportunity to have his work published in the Journal of Educational Psychology. He highlights the page numbers that if you were to pick up that actual edition, that his article is listed in. And then again, it shows that that publication was released in 2005, so that if someone wanted to go out into a specific library or database, they would be able to find John's work. And so that's really important. It's really great for you to allow people to go back and trace back anything that you've been involved in. And so having the most accurate and up-to-date information will allow for that. And then at the bottom, you'll see that he's listed his grants and fellowships, his honors and awards. So it looks like he received an academic talent award, and then skills and qualifications. So what you'll see is that after this recording's done, this is another example, Wayne, that I have here. And so you'll get to see how each student was able to highlight their own experiences in their way, going over all of those areas that we talked about. So I'm going to end our coffee and talk today. I am looking forward to coordinating any meetings with students. So if today you were inspired and you're thinking, hey, Brittany, I'm looking to go to graduate school, or it's something I'm thinking about, we are super excited to help you in that process and would love to meet with you. So feel free to go on Handshake and to look up your career specialist. You can set a time up to meet with us virtually or in person. We do have new in-person dates that we have released, so that if you are in the Auburn area and you would like to get a head start, you can come in. And so again, we are really looking forward to help you with that process. So be sure to look for the information on our website. Any other questions you have, just feel free to email me. I hope you have a great morning. Bye.